exactly. Man, ticket stock. What do you got?
I mean, I think I've been hearing and reading the same thing you said. There was a little kind of. Did you see any thumbs on people? Because they said that there was like, I mean, I don't know if they were
Yeah,
exaggerating, but that they were kind of doing like the Mavs thing, kind of cracking down and keeping an eye on people, see if they're gonna do anything crazy or just
yeah,
are they just kind of.
yeah. There was a lot of DZ brethren. Uh, the DFs were out in full force,
Yeah.
right? But yeah, so like security and stuff like that, like they were keeping an eye on them. So
Yeah,
like
that's what I'm saying.
there
That's
was
what a lot of people were saying that like they felt like they were kind of being watched or something.
yeah. If you had like there was one dude, we know him. He's a good dude. He might have been the guy that started the hang zone at
Mhm.
the mall.
Oh,
But
okay.
he had a hang zone T-shirt, and they were keeping an eye on him as soon as he walked in, and like, oh, okay, he's just wearing a T-shirt, man. He's walking around.
Yeah,
But yeah, it was weird, man. Like it was. I'll say this: it was like a not like a light audience, but only because it was dirt.
yeah,
So I feel like they were pushing to get people there early.
yeah.
So they
I
were
think this is the first time they've done the goodie bag thing, right? Where like the first what was it like 250 people or whatever?
yeah,
Yeah,
first two get there, they would get a goodie bag, and I didn't get there in time. I got there
yeah.
like at it's probably like 2 o'clock, something like that.
I was
But
about to ask you what time did you end up going?
yeah, about 2:15, 2:30, and they were all
Mm.
sold out. They were all out of the bags and stuff. But yeah, they did that, and they also had like a taste of the ticket, Desperados, Wild
Yeah, I
Fork.
heard of that too. They gave you what like some tickets or something like to
They,
like 5 tickets or something you could try the five
yes,
different ones, I guess, or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. Because before you couldn't get any food there. I mean, you could buy like shitty Plano Event Center food,
Yeah, they just
which is
had like the concessions open, right?
yes, which is just like going to
I mean, I
it's like
haven't been since it's been a long time since you've been. I know you've been a couple more times or a few more times
yeah,
since the last time that we went.
yeah,
But yeah, I remember it was just like concessions, just kind of like down in the dungeons of like old Arlington Stadium, like
yes.
concessions.
It was like kissing your cousin, brother. To where it was like you want some stale ass pizza, you can get it here. But yeah, they ramped that up too, and also on the concourse they had a bunch of memorabilia stuff that was first for this year. So they had a bunch of booth vendors on the concourse
What was
outside of
like memorabilia, like what, like
everything.
ticket stuff or like sports, like
No,
teams?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
like a bunch of Shorty DeFazios were out there selling their wares
Oh,
outside of
okay.
the
So it wasn't like a museum type thing. Like they were out there
no,
like kind of like a sports card show. Like they were
yeah,
selling stuff,
that's right. That's
cards
right.
and
Yes.
autograph thingies and pictures or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
A bunch of cards and like helmets and stuff like that. Like so I mean I guess it was kind of cool, but as soon as you walked in, it felt kind of gloomy, dude. Like it was
Yeah.
weird. And
It
it
was
was
at the same spot, right? At the no, where we went was the what was it?
okay, so I was
Arlington?
gonna say so we were talking about that. It was the Irving Convention Center
Oh yeah,
where we saw
that's where the last time I went. Now it's at the Plano,
yeah,
right?
yeah, now it's in Plano.
Okay.
So like back in the day, that was the Rodman Day, right?
Yeah.
And that was awesome on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But so yeah, they've had it at the Plano Event Center for a while. And what's funny is this for the first time this year, it was weird because like they cut off the vendors from the actual talent. So there was a curtain, right? And there was
Oh,
like
okay.
there were vendors like all the sports teams were there,
Mhm.
um, the Stars and stuff like that, Rangers, um, and some limited vendors, but they cut you off from the main stage, right?
Okay.
So it looked like it was bigger than it was, but it wasn't.
They
And
kind
it
of
was weird.
separate like when they separate the gyms for like natural disasters and
Yeah,
stuff, where they separate them with curtains
that's
like
it.
that.
It was all meat curtains, sir. It was all it was weird. It was weird. So it was a weird feeling when you walked in, and it was kind of gloomy. but the other thing about that was like Dirk was a headliner, right?
Yeah.
And talking with some friends with our buddy Chipper, and we were both saying the same thing. Before Dirk, came on
Mhm.
stage, it was weird because like a bunch of folks were just like kind of just sad about Luca, and the vendors were saying the same thing and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
it was weird because before Dirk went on, everything was kind of low key, like kind of gloomy. And then he went on, and he even said he was like, "Hey, I really didn't want to be here right now."
Yeah, I was
After,
gonna say they talked about like there was like I guess kind of talk behind. I don't know, like I saw like a couple of things on like Reddit and just people kind of chatting that like he might not go, like they might
he,
not,
oh,
but they kept announcing it like that he was gonna be there and he was gonna be there, and
yeah,
even after I think during I saw some of the videos during and like people posting and even I think I don't know if it was the ticket or it was something that they where they posted that like he basically he said something along the lines of like again paraphrasing sort of maybe it wasn't exactly but sort of like I didn't really
yeah,
want to do this but like I kind of committed to the thing so he went
yeah,
ahead and kind of went through with it or whatever.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly what he said on
Yeah.
stage. The first
Oh,
thing he
okay.
said.
I just didn't know where it came because I just saw the quote, but I didn't know if
Yeah,
like somebody said that or if he said that behind the scenes to somebody, if it was something that because I listened to the audio, but I've only listened to like parts of it. I haven't listened to like the whole thing when he was up there.
yeah. No, that's what he said. As soon as he got on, they were asking him, "Hey, how you doing?" This and that,
So,
and they're talking. They immediately went to Luca, and then he was like, he said, Dirk said, "Man," he said, I really didn't want to be here after the Luca thing,
okay.
but but he said, but I know you guys, I like you guys, so I'm
Mm.
here."
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
that's kind of like the quote that I saw. But like I said, I didn't know if that was like something that he said backstage or something that
yeah,
because like I said, I've
yeah,
listened to most of the parts of the interview and stuff, but not
yeah,
from beginning to end.
yeah, and that was it. Like the beginning was very, again, speaking of like the gloomy kind of downcast
Yeah.
ticket. It was weird because that's the first thing he said, right? And he was like, "No, I kind of owe it to you guys, but I
Mm.
really didn't want to be here, especially after the Luca thing." And then he
Yeah.
spoke on how Luca texted him and said, "Hey, if you can make it, I'd love for you to be in LA for my first game."
Oh, for
And
the first thing. Yeah.
yeah, he made it out there, and it was funny because it kind of matched the vibe of honestly, dude. Like I was telling the buddies that I was there with, because we listen to the Dumb Zone as well, but it's funny they it feels like if they can't get enough talent to headline ticket stock,
Yeah.
right? It goes the same way as a ticket,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you have the musers and the hard line on the back end, but like middays now seem kind of and it's been documented like the ratings
Oh
are
yeah. Yeah.
terrible.
That's not. I mean, they're still above everything else,
Yes,
but I mean, it's still not what it used to be. It's not the ratings that
no,
they were getting before. They're still beating
no,
everybody else, but
no,
it's not
yeah,
like I said, to me, it used to be like from the morning all the way through as long as I
yeah,
could stay on until I got home or whatever,
yep,
not always
yep,
till 7 o'clock, but as close as you got to it, listen to it. Now,
yep,
like I said, there's a lot of, and I think we talked about this, but like now, especially with the morning when the musers like they go from
yeah,
6 to 9, like by the time I actually get to put my earbuds in, by the time I get to
yeah,
work and like get
yep,
everything set up and like it's basically almost over. And it doesn't seem like
yep.
it's that big a difference, but it is,
It is,
and
yeah,
then to go 4 hours basically on the other
yeah,
show, which I don't mind that much, but I think 4 hours is a lot.
yep,
And I've never been
yep.
able to listen to what's the other show,
A sweet spot.
the Sweet Spot. I've never been able to get into it at all. Like,
Well, it's funny. It's funny you say that because like Jake loves, and Jake and Bob and Blake, they love Monty,
yeah.
right? And they
See,
have
and that's
no idea.
yeah, and the thing is, to me, is like I think they're like the younger bunch
Yeah,
in that but I think that they also like either I don't know if they got a talking to or something, because they don't. Because I remember listening to them on the weekends. They don't
Yeah.
do like they did on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If they did bits and talk like they did on the weekends when they had like the Sunday morning shows and stuff,
Yeah.
when a lot of people aren't listening, but it
Yeah.
seems like maybe they had a talking to me like, well, you can't, you know what I'm saying? We can't do those bits, or you can't talk like this or
Yeah.
about these things or about those things
Yeah.
or whatever, because
Yeah.
it's totally different. And it's the same people.
Yeah.
But
No, it is.
I also have a thing that like I think Monty should have had a bigger role in, you know, in
Yep.
that show or another show or whatever, you know what I mean? Because he like when he's on when he does his parts, like that's when I've listened, and I listen to it because it's like on the top 10 sometimes or whatever,
Yeah.
but usually
Yep.
he's on it. If you listen to like bits where they're like highlighting or whatever, it's usually because he's on it.
Yep. That's it. Well, and it's funny because like again, like you gave me, you turned me on to the Dumb Zone, right? Like
Mm.
you had me to start following them after the free thing, and I bought the membership, right?
Mm.
And but then I went back. I was telling you, I went back, and after it was like the second or third show on the Dumb Zone, they talked about Monty, and
Yeah,
they were talking lineups, right? That
yeah,
was like August of 23 when they
yeah,
first jumped back, right? And so both, uh, both Dan and Jake were talking about how it should have been Monty that would have had a full personality,
yeah.
like on air, right? Like
I
not
always
just like a
Speaking of
backup
that, I
role.
always wondered too, like after the thing came out with him, you know, dealing with cancer again and all that. I wonder if
Yeah.
that's something that he maybe knew of beforehand. That kind of
Mm,
was a thing that like maybe like not necessarily like it was a stations thing, but maybe he was like,
yeah.
hey, I don't know if like, or I don't know, if that was happening then, because it's not his first stint as far as right.
No.
It's not his first stint with
No.
it. I just wonder if this last time around was maybe
Yeah.
something that he was kind of getting into and knew that there was something, you know what I mean? And maybe if that had anything to do with, you know, because otherwise, like, I don't see why they wouldn't give him a spot. Like, he's
That's yeah.
the only thing I heard was like seniority. Like, I think the other guys that actually got the spots had a little bit more seniority.
Yeah.
But other than
Gotcha.
that, like, if you're looking for personality, if you're looking for somebody that like people like, you know.
Yeah. I mean that's the guy, and it's
Yeah.
yeah. There might be something to that because yeah, who knows, right? As
Yeah.
far as like when or things like that. But what's funny is with both venues, right, of listening,
Mhm.
you see, like it's changed the way that we
Yeah.
listen to the tick because it's funny, like the corporate cumulus they try to take down Dan and Jake, but
Yeah.
they didn't. They couldn't. It was a labor law issue, right? Not
Yeah.
compete. But you will hear them consistently. Like every week, they'll say, "Hey, I was listening to the Musers, right? Like I was
Yeah.
on with them earlier, listening to them, and they support them so much, right?
Yeah.
It's funny because like they're kind of like uh they're a powerhouse now of a
Yeah.
separate entity that doesn't compete,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's taking us away from like I'll listen to the Musers and then the midday stuff, which is what they try to replace them with.
Yeah.
It's just not good.
Yeah.
So what I do is I cornerstone the Musers in the morning,
Yeah.
all of it, right? And again, they're losing their fastball, right? That's why they went down, like you said, right? That now they're down to what is it, 6-9,
6 to 9.
six
Yeah.
to nine now. They'll do the replay 5:30 to 6. They'll do a replay, right?
Yeah.
Top 10. But then yeah, but if you look at it, like, yeah, we can split time, but in my mind, honestly, like I find myself gravitating more towards the Dumb Zone, right?
I mean, because
Where
you can listen to it whenever you want. There's no
yes,
like having to, you know. And speaking of, like, I think we talked about this before. I don't remember if I like, but like there's no way, I don't think anyway, there's no way
mhm,
that this like 6 to 9 thing, because I mean, it's 6 to 9. It's six to
yes,
nine, right? But they still do the 6:30 bit repeat. So that's like
yes,
another segment that's gone. And
yes,
like when they do the 840 bit, that's basically the end of the show. It's like the last segment
yes,
of the show. or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they're only like doing 6 to 9. Like
Yes.
I think that's my theory. I think the only reason that they were able to do that, regardless
Yeah.
of what anybody says, is
Yes.
because of Dan and
Yeah.
Jake and the non-compete bit, that they know that like now they have that in their pocket. They can be like, we can just
Yes.
go and maybe not necessarily, but it's like, what are you gonna do? We can all just retire and we can start
Yeah.
our own podcast and people will listen to it.
Yes.
You can see that
Yes.
people, if they listen to the Dumb Zone, the Hang Zone, Dan and Jake, which were,
Yeah.
but I mean, because the powerhouse is the Musers in the morning.
Yes.
That's where the ratings are. So you
Yes.
don't think people, and they probably wouldn't even have to charge. They could probably get
Yes.
sponsors right off the bat where they could just do
Immediate.
straight up free,
Immediate.
and they know,
Yeah.
and there's no way, at least to me,
Yeah.
that didn't come up in the negotiating, because that's their big thing. Like you think Cumulus and the ticket would be like, oh sure, go on for just 3 hours instead of a block of 4 hours. You know what
No.
I mean?
Yeah.
Because they could also
Yeah.
have done like 7 to 10 instead of 6 to 10. Do
Yeah.
7 to 10. You could replay some bits from 6 to 7 and then do 7 to 10. The 3 hours or whatever. But like I said, if Cumulus or the ticket actually had the you know the ace in the
Yeah.
hole type thing, and they could be like, what, we got you over a barrel. But I think it's the other way around. That's the only reason they
Yeah.
were able to do it, because like, look, we can go and we
Yeah.
can start our own thing
Yeah.
individually, as a team, whatever,
Yeah.
and people will listen. And I'm sure they've made enough money to where they
Yeah.
don't need it. They're not doing it for the money anymore.
No.
You know what I mean? So
No.
that's a thing that they don't talk about either. But I guarantee you, like I said, in my personal opinion, like there's no way that
Yes.
that didn't come up, that the
Yes.
non-compete bids didn't come up. That like, hey, how they win. They win and they're doing just fine, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and it's funny you say that because, um, I know Dan would hate it, or maybe he'd love it, but Dan was kind of the Rosa Parks of the whole bit,
Yeah. And
where he
and
was
a
like,
lot of that, like he downplays it, and I get it, but it's like they understand the impact. They understand like what,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like they say, like
yeah,
I mean, in the future, like when somebody goes, like those one of those cases, like they do on the TV when they bring
yeah,
up like presidents and stuff, like, hey, you remember such and such versus such and such,
yeah,
now there's
yeah.
precedent for this thing. Like that's gonna be
That's right.
something that's gonna be in the books of a
Yeah,
case that, like, you know what I mean, that they're going to use in the future for whatever. But like I said,
yeah.
I know that's how they are. Like they're gonna downplay that bit, like it was
They
just
oh
a thing.
they will, they will, and I'm not being trite, and racist, but not to compare and to a black woman that stood her ground on the back of a bus, but not thing. Don't paint me with that brush.
Don't.
Paint me with that brush. But at the same time, though, I think they did something that, to your point, the musers followed, and they were like, "Hey, wait! Like, why do we have to, right?"
Yeah,
And at the end of the ticket, it was amazing. It was super formative. Like when we were growing up, coming up, right?
yeah.
Um, we didn't realize how badly they were being treated as far
Oh
as the
yeah,
talent. Like you said, setting precedent, right?
yeah,
Like for the Washington Journal, like for them to set an article on the dumb zone for national
yeah,
labor law, that's important.
yeah,
It matters. And for the musers, I think you're right. Like I know you're right. Where you say like where they went into whatever, like Dan Bennett's office, and they were
yeah,
like, "Hey, guess what? If you want us longer,
yeah,
you're gonna have to keep it shorter and on our terms, bite-sized pieces,
yeah,
right?" Because they saw the writing on the wall, and that's the future. I think that monetizing the way that they want, the way that man, like just listening to Business Wednesdays, right?
yeah,
Adam Romo was hitting them up, and all these other sponsors. And what did Dan say? Not yet,
yeah,
right? Not yet. Just thank you for the
yeah,
support, but don't let's not do this right now. But then when they were ready and they won the suit or they settled or whatever,
yeah,
right? Then that's when they were like, okay, cool, like fair lease Navidad,
yeah.
right? Like
I mean, to
now we're
me,
ready.
people say, well, they said, but to me, that's a win.
Yes,
When the person that's suing you settles, like, to me, you won.
yeah,
Otherwise, if they thought they could win, why would they settle?
that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
They,
Like to me, that's winning because you're just trying to save face and not call it a
yeah,
you know
yeah.
something else. But it's all just semantics to me
Well,
when it
well,
comes to that.
well,
You
well, well,
know,
well I told you this, off air, but
yeah,
I told you, I read through the transcript, right,
yeah,
of the proceedings in court, and man, like they went up against it, right?
yeah,
So they had a great team of lawyers, Dan and Jake, but I think what what made the pivot was there was a section of like what the ticket and Cumulus, right? Like
mhm,
what they were saying they were doing was that they were podcasting, but they weren't.
yeah,
They they weren't podcasting. They weren't. There was an issue about geofencing, right? Like
yeah,
if they were allowed to, if the dumb zone was allowed to be on air, then they had to geofence it around Dallas, right?
yeah,
Not Dallas, anywhere else they were fine. But at the end of the day, they won. But I think what happened was that they kind of made a fool of the other side. Like you said, they don't settle for nothing, right?
yeah,
So I think on the side, what they were arguing was that hey, they're competing against us. No, that wasn't true, right? We can listen wherever we want, right?
yeah.
But also
And not only
that
that, it wasn't free.
yeah, yeah, that's it. And also yeah, and I think Dan's testimony was awesome because he was being very combative,
Yeah,
but
how he?
but
I mean,
in Dan's
that's
way.
him.
Yes, because yeah, because they were asking him certain questions about like, you know, like do you think like what do you know about geofencing? And he was like,
Yeah,
what is that? Right?
yeah.
He's like, what do you mean by that? And it like their representation for Cumulus side, like they weren't ready. They didn't know the facts, right?
I mean, to me,
And
it seemed like this is so easy. It's open and shut type. Just go through the
yeah,
script, and we just
yep,
got to throw out the words and the things and all this,
yep,
and everybody and the judge and everybody will understand that like you just can't do whatever it is you're doing. You know what I mean? But I think they had
right,
already figured all that out. They had already talked to the lawyers. They had already
yeah,
explained. The lawyers had already explained to them like, no, this is not. You know what I mean?
yeah,
This is not what they're saying it is. And like
right,
like they said on the lawyers roundtable and stuff, like the like what Cumulus was suing them for was not even like it like they can do that, but the lawyer were telling like this is not even that kind of case. Like it's
yeah,
actually a something else. This is a labor law
yeah,
type case thing that they're not even prepared for. They're not
yeah,
even they're not even thinking about this. They're thinking they're
yeah,
coming at it from a totally different, from a totally
yeah,
different angle, and we're gonna get them because this is what it actually this case is about. It's not
yeah,
about not being able to podcast, not being able to do all
yeah,
this. It's a totally different thing that they don't even know about. They're basically
yeah.
not even prepared for that.
They were not. They were not because they were asking questions specific to like well they were asking man, who was it? I think it was I think it was the Catman. They were asking
Yeah.
him like so you guys, what you're arguing is that you podcast as well, and he was like, yeah, we podcast,
Mhm.
but that's not what a podcast means,
Yeah.
right? They literally what he meant was we have the ticket top 10, right?
Yeah.
we we have different
But
bites.
speaking of that too, isn't it crazy how much more they've been uploading ever since that? Like how much more
Yes,
stuff there is on Spotify
yes,
and everywhere else
yes,
where they're like cutting up all the segments, putting
yes,
everything on there throughout the day. To
yeah.
where before it was the top 10 and like once in a while they'd upload
They,
something every few weeks there'd be something. Now there's like cuts of everything. They have the ticket podcast
yeah,
thing and they have
yeah,
a bunch of other ones where they like split up all the stuff and like you can listen to it. And
yeah,
they didn't have that before all this.
no,
They had, like I
no,
said, they had some and they had it on there, but
yeah,
they weren't really maintaining it or anything. Once in a while, they would post, just like the YouTube channel, the Ticket YouTube
yeah,
channel. Like there's videos on there, like every couple of years, they'll put a video up. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah. And they talked about that in the ruling. But see, but you're right, right? I think all kidding aside, I think what these boys did was they basically changed the paradigm, right? They shifted it in a way that they were like, you know what? we came to you humbly and we
Yeah.
said, hey, we want to do this within the confines of the place that we're at. We don't want to leave,
Yeah.
right? They were comfortable, but Cumulus, like I feel like they pushed them too far,
Yeah.
and when they did, I feel like Dan, he was like, nah, fuck this,
Yeah.
like do our own thing, right? And it's gonna be scary, it's gonna be new, but because he did that, I feel like yes. So when you're reactive in business, that's always a sign of loss,
Yeah.
and that's what, to your point, that's what the ticket did, and that's why they shifted down the musers to acquiesce to like their demands, where they were like, hey, we want to be less on air,
Yeah.
right? We want more time to just chill, so move us to 6 to 9, whatever. And then yes, online content, they ramped that up
Yeah.
because so behind
Yeah.
that they were like, oh shit,
And
like we
even though they probably know that, like, look, if you're gonna give me every segment
yeah,
as segments or
yeah,
blocks or however you want to put them, shows, whatever, on Spotify, and they don't have ads on them, like I have to listen to
mm,
the radio, like I'm gonna do it that way, which means you're pulling people away. Like you're competing against yourself now. Your podcasts are really now competing against you
yeah,
because
yeah,
you're putting them out. It's like, look, I don't have to tune in at
yeah,
9 or 10 or whatever, because I'll just go at the end of the day or the next day. I'll go on Spotify and I'll look at the thing and I'll listen to the segments that I want to listen to. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And avoid the ones that I don't want to listen to. You know?
yeah, yeah. And you know what's funny is like, man, it was maybe like 2 or 3 years ago. I think Junior was talking about this, where they were the ticket app, right? The
Yeah.
the Dallas Morning ticket app. They had launched that. It was up and going, but I think Junior, and like fact check me, right? But
Mhm.
2 or 3 years, Junior was just saying, he was like, we're looking at the metrics, right, on the app, and it seems like people are just wanting to skip through certain segments to get
Yeah.
to Gordo, to get to whatever they want to
Yeah.
see. But future,
But
like that's
but if you listen, if you I think now, if you listen, I think some people were talking about this too. I'm not sure because I don't when I listen to the ticket during the day on the Sports Day app, like I just put it on and I just leave it alone. But
right.
but I've seen at least some people were saying that like they for a while maybe they took away the ability to like skip and
Oh,
yeah, like they
okay,
only yeah. So I don't know if that was like a glitch in the thing, but I heard a lot of people
right.
like on Reddit talking about if maybe that was a thing they were doing to keep people from you know, basically
Yeah,
listen at your own, you know,
right.
yeah. Because I mean, it's just like anything else. This also too is just like the unticket. I don't know if it exists
Yeah,
anymore, but like
it does.
you know, they were help like that. That's one of those things too that like basically the ticket didn't like at the beginning or near the end didn't like the unticket, and it's like they're bringing you know
Yes.
like what's stopping like me what's stopping me from recording the day of the ticket, cutting out the
Yep.
commercials and just putting it up somewhere on a site where
Yep.
people can just listen to it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it's not live,
Yep.
but still like most of the segments have nothing to do with what just happened.
Yeah.
And if
That's
it's something that just happened, you're gonna hear about it.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you'll go look for it. Then you'll go
Yeah.
look to see if the ticket talked about it or who talked about it. But for the most part, they're not talking about like something that just happened. They're always talking about something that happened the day before, the night before, the game of the night
Yeah.
before, the games of the day before, or whatever. So even though it's live, there's not so much breaking stuff that like you notice it listening to it like the next day. It's not that huge of
Yeah.
a difference. You know what I mean? You didn't just like miss everything because you didn't listen to it live. You know what I mean?
Right. No, that's fair. And speaking on that, like I will say this, man, like again, just just to reiterate, dude, like we grew up on the ticket, right? We
Yeah.
love the ticket. And I think what's happening now is a good thing. I really do, right? I think that what Dan and Jake did, to branch off on their own and like bust a contract and go to court for it. I think it's changing the way that you have to kind of break some bones for the
Yeah.
ticket. They've been the leader since '94,
Yeah.
right? They've
I think when
toppled the rate.
I graduated in '95, and that
Yeah,
last year, I remember that last year in high school, I used to have my little Sony radio, my little Sony Walkman, but it was just the
come on.
radio, just the little tiny radio. It had just AM and FM. I used to put it on there and put the earbud in my thing and put it in my pocket and listen to it because there was nothing like that. You know, even
Yeah.
today, like I can't stand listening to even 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 though the shows during the middle of the bookends aren't that good,
Yeah.
they're still way better than what you'll listen to like on
Oh,
the whatever. I don't even know what station still exists, if the fan is still
I don't know.
around or
Yeah.
ESPN or whatever else is still around. Like those shows, I
Yes.
can't stand to listen to them at
Yes.
all.
Yes.
I
I
just
mean,
can't like you forget what sports radio sounds like everywhere else. When you try to
yes.
listen to something else, you forget that like it doesn't sound like this.
No, it doesn't. And no, and you're right. Like, because honestly, like, if you go to another city, right? Like, if you go to
Yeah.
Philly or, New York or wherever, like, it's a bunch of blowhards.
Mm.
Not that I'm going to other cities.
Not, but I mean me. I'm a
But where
Redskins
you live?
fan. I'm a Redskins fan. So this year I found like the local like station, the sports station for over there, and it's my team. And they talk about my team all day, and I couldn't stand listening to it.
Yes.
It's my team, and they're talking about my team during a good year, and I can't listen to it because it's because it's
Because
got sports people, that
there's,
generic
uh,
sports talk. You know what I mean?
and
That like it's just I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand it
and
because you get used to listening to it this way, which is
yes,
completely different, and then you
yes,
go try to listen to something else, and it just doesn't. I can't. I
yeah,
don't like it.
yeah. They take calls from South and South Philly,
Yeah.
and then
And everything
no,
like everything
but
is very Bayless, like everything is just talking, just
yep,
throwing shit up against the wall just for the sake of just arguing and like I don't know, like I said, and this was my team talking about
yeah,
my team during a good
on,
season
on
and
a
I could
great,
not stand it. And I could not
yeah.
stand it.
Yeah. No, I hear you. And but honestly, like, but I think that's the point is that, man, I'm so thankful for the ticket because, just like you, right? Like it's brought us through, good formative years, right? For us. But,
I mean,
it didn't get,
we're not the only ones, but like
no,
it changed the way we talk.
yes.
It changed the
Yeah.
way that we do life things.
I think in drops all, and, I think in drops all the time. And it's
Yeah,
really funny.
everything is. There's nothing in a day, or even we can't have a conversation or say something without like, doing a
Yeah.
drop. And most people
Yeah.
don't get it, but it's just
It's
like
for us.
everything else. It's just like it's just like the ticket bit. Like it's not for you. Like you don't know what it is.
No, no, that's it. Yeah. Maybe don't let them eat the napkin, you know? Uh, but yeah, but on that point, like I said, I think that, I think it's a good thing, but also it's kind of a sad thing, like an end of one thing, right?
Yeah.
And,
I mean,
something.
we all knew eventually it's going to. It's going
Yes,
to. And
yes,
that's the weird part about this station is that like those people were on there for so long and the same people were on there for so long that once they're all gone, like it won't be the ticket anymore.
no,
It'll be the ticket in name and all that, but it's not
yeah,
going to be the ticket because I doubt that all the people that come in are all going to be like that. You know what I mean? So it'll
they
be the ticket in name, but it's not going to be the ticket.
right.
It
I feel
almost,
like
like I
they
said,
kept
it's almost close to not feeling like it. Almost.
almost.
Yeah.
They're almost there, and it's a weird thing. And honestly, yes, like to your point, like yeah, they've been together for like 30 years, right,
Yeah.
or more. But what's funny is when change happened for them. Like they it was a big blow,
Yeah.
and the boys took a big blow, right? Corby was fighting for it, Gordo, Jub, the whole crew. They
Mhm.
were fighting Dan and Jake on, right? How can we figure this out?
Yeah.
Because if they lost that piece,
Yeah.
like that was the end,
It's because that's
right?
what makes it. It's all the pieces together, not just the bookends, not just the morning, not just the
No,
afternoon. It's all of it
no,
together.
that's right. And
Mhm.
but again, like the funny thing is about that, like to me, is that, I feel like Dan and Jake, like they found something new.
Yeah.
They found what was next before, they found the way before, right? Like
Yeah.
the ticket personalities did, and then they followed suit, right? So then that's when, the musers were like, man, fuck this.
Mhm.
like short us down some hours, right? Like we want to be here longer
Mhm.
and long, right? Like Gordo's got
I wonder if
Twitch.
that has anything to do with anything. I think that's just I just think that's the way they're trying to sell it to us.
Mm.
I don't think that that's the way they went in to try to sell it. You know
Oh
what I mean?
no, no,
They went in like, look, we don't have to do these many hours anymore. What are you
fuck
gonna
this.
do? But they're
I
selling
agree.
it to us as like, we did this to kind of keep them on the air longer. You know what I
Oh, for
mean?
sure. Yeah. No. No. You're absolutely right, right? But what I'm saying is like it wouldn't have happened without the dumb zone.
Yeah, yeah,
Someone did what they did, and all of a sudden, everyone else kind of woke up.
yeah,
Like, what the fuck? Like these boys are actually making it, and it took a while for them to make it.
yeah,
Like they struggled for a while, right? Like, and also I feel like in my mind they did it the right way,
yeah.
where they were like, hey, no sponsors, we're not going to compete, right? We're going to get through
I mean, they
the
tried to
court.
make it frictionless. They
That's
weren't
right, and
allowed to, but they tried to.
they did, and they love these boys. They talk to them regularly, right?
Yeah,
Like Bob, they text each other and they talk, right? But I do feel uh, like this era right now. Yes, to your point, they can the ticket can say whatever they want. Cumulus can say whatever they
mhm,
want, right? They can spit it out and say that yes, we want them longer, so we're going to shorten their hours
mhm.
per day. That's fine, but they were kind of woken up in a sense of like, man, we were kind of we were sleepwalking through this thing. We
Yeah.
were getting high, right? And then now we lost a big piece. So what are we going to do now, right?
And
And
even though Norm was old, it kind of came back to back, sort of. So
yep,
like they took two kind of big blows in that whole
big,
middle of the day. The whole middle of the
yep,
day was gone. Like
destroyed.
in not that long of a span, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. I think it woke them up in a sense of, oh man, like yes, we're the leader right now, but things are changing, right?
Yeah.
And yes, behind the scenes, if it weren't for the dumb zone, I think that the musers will still be like, yeah, we'll just keep treading along.
Yeah.
We're getting high, getting good pay, right? I don't know how much they make, but
Mm.
at the end of the day, when this happened, I think they saw their radio mortality, kind of
Yeah.
hang in the balance. Where they were like, oh shit, like we have to do something for us and ours,
Yeah.
right? For minds, and I think that's what they did. You're right, and they can sell it to us however they want,
Yeah.
but
But that's what I'm saying. I
but
just don't think under normal circumstances they would just allow like the biggest rated show on the station to just be like, you know
no,
what, we're cutting back an hour. And
never.
like I said, I don't have anything against Donnie and like McLaren, but like 4 hours is way too long for
Yep,
them to carry a show, I think. And for them to
yep.
say, yeah, we're gonna take an hour from this show and give it to that show, which I'm sure they get at least from what you see on Reddit and Facebook and stuff like that. Even like I said, I don't think they're that bad, but 4 hours is a lot
That's a
for
lot.
them to
That's
carry. I
a,
think.
yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot for them to fill. I think it's forced chemistry,
Yeah,
right? I dig both those boys. I think they're great,
yeah,
but yeah, man, it's a lot for them to carry, right?
yeah,
And and man, and also like it's funny, everything that we've seen um beyond Cumulus and the ticket, like there's a reason why Danny Bayless, right?
mhm,
Soroy, right? Like all these other personalities, they're being employed by the Dumb Zone now.
yeah,
Like they're like Julie's part of their
yeah,
what's it called, the advertising, right? Like
yeah.
sales rep. Danny Bayless, regular host. He does some of their content, right?
Yeah.
They're cut.
I think he
And
produces the mom game.
yep,
I think that's what he does.
yeah, yes. And the mom game is now, I believe,
Yeah, under the umbrella of the No Puppet.
no puppet,
Yeah,
right? But I think what they're doing is scaring a lot of people
yeah,
in the right way. Is what I think, because that's the dream, right? Like do things for yourself, and
yeah,
it was scary. And you and I have talked about this in our work ventures, and
yeah.
what what do we do for a daily living, right? But if you can do that, I mean, that's a tis, dude. Like
That's what a lot,
that's
that's what a lot of people, when they went off on their own, they were like, they're dumb for doing this, and they're, and I don't reply or engage a whole lot in like the Facebook groups or Reddit or anything, but that's where you kind of like see, like, there's different people. There's people that have that like
yeah,
entrepreneur mentality, that like they want to
yeah,
do something, and there's some people, that are fine with, and there's nothing wrong with it either, but
no,
like, I don't know why people usually hate on people that like try to do, and they if they would have failed, if they fail, people will make fun, and it's like, dude, like the like, you don't have the balls to take that risk. Like, don't make fun of
yeah,
somebody that does. You know what I mean? They
yeah,
believed in something enough. Would you do that? That's what I'm saying. Like, the people that are like, would you leave this high ass paying job like they did,
yeah,
secure check, everything, benefits, all that stuff they get there, to go off on your own and see if it even fucking happens. Like, that takes balls. That's a whole other different kind of, you know what I mean?
yeah. No, and that's true, man. It's crazy because and again, like we talked about, I think that what they did has really impacted the rest of the ticket, the staff, the
Yeah,
personalities, like the personalities, right? The fact that they left and then Norm left, that allowed for people to move in, right?
yeah,
And again, talking about like early days of the Dumb Zone podcast before they got it, well, it was around the time that they got their suit handed to them, right?
yeah,
To go to court. They were loving on the ticket, but they were also talking about like the lineups,
yeah.
the new, right? And
They
that's when
call
they
it
talked about,
midday. What do they call it? Midday shuffle or midday
yes,
something?
yes, yes, exactly. No, yes, exactly. And
Yeah,
and they were commenting on that. But what's funny is they were always showing love, and they
yeah.
always do,
Oh yeah.
which is awesome, right? But to your point, there's a lot of folks that were kind of hating on them,
Mhm.
and they were like, "Oh man, they're just doing a podcast now.
Yeah.
Like that's weird." Man, they are so successful now, and they're going to continue to be successful. And the people that support them, to your point, some folks didn't see it, but I think the right people are seeing it now.
Yeah. And successful isn't always that they're making a shit ton of money, but what they're
Right?
but what they're building looks like it's something, and the money will come eventually. And I mean, let's
Yes,
be honest, they're probably okay. They talk about it. They're okay. They're not,
they're
I
fine.
know they're not gonna say like, hey, we don't have to worry about this. We got plenty of money. They gotta play up to like, hey, because it still is. It's still a
Yeah.
lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Lawyer fees are a lot of money. Like, all these things are still a lot of money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think they would have done it if they didn't have something to kind of, to have that
Yeah.
runway to kind of like, hey, we got to make this
Yeah.
work. We got a year maybe, and to just, and we'll be fine as long as we can. You know what I mean? Or they wouldn't be investing in all this other stuff. They wouldn't be hiring people if they didn't have.
No.
You know what I mean? And from what they say, like, they're not volunteering for this stuff. They're not just there to, they're employees. I'm assuming, getting paid. And from what they
Yeah.
talk about, how it was on the ticket, how they didn't like the people, how they didn't get paid, how they didn't get treated right. The time where they were talking about during COVID, how they were kind of helping,
Yeah.
supplement, sort of, the thing. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way that now that they're on their thing, that they're not taking care of their people.
That's
So
right.
so a lot of people say, well, the math don't like, well, you don't understand. It's not always like, people just look at subscribe. They want to do subscribers and then do the math and do. It's not just that, dude. Like, there's,
Oh
you
no,
know how many sit-ins they get at
dude.
basically $700 a pop, and then
Yep.
remotes, and then just all
Yep.
these little things, all the sponsorship, all these little things, like, all that is where the real money is. It's not in the subscribers.
No.
Because even the
No.
subscribers, like, they only keep a part of that. They don't keep it
Yes.
all. You know what I mean? Everything comes from a lot of other things that we have no idea about. So, like I said,
Yes.
just, you don't have to be, too smart. Like, you see just what's going on, and they're doing fine. Again, they might not be making a, hand over fist or anything, but they're doing well enough to keep this thing going and to try to
Yes.
make it bigger and better, and, like, which is what,
Yeah.
again, success is to me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that you're right. And they're playing the long game, right? Like,
Yeah.
so it's funny because they man, I think it was like maybe, I don't know, like last year maybe, or whenever, but Uncle Hotmail got an
Yeah.
email, right? and I think it was a lady that was saying, "Hey, just so you know, like I can skip through the Fairlease, right?
Yeah.
Lucy, right? Pouches, like Lone Star, whatever, Frankel and Frankel.
Hmm.
I can skip those, but y'all make it a part of your show to where I
Yeah.
can't skip it." So they're coming up with something new.
Yeah.
To your point, where it's like, no, no, yes, it's beyond subscriber payment.
Yeah.
They're doing something that the people that have bought into them, they are with them as partners, right?
Yeah.
Like to where they support them in a way that's different. Something I haven't seen to where they embed themselves in a story,
Yeah.
and right, like to where the musers, right, or the ticket or any other radio station, they're like, okay, now we're gonna pause for a radio spot,
Yeah.
and they'll do like a pre-recorded spot, right,
And you check
and not
out because it's corny commercials and it's just like, stupid
yes,
Helzberg Diamond commercials that annoy the shit out of me. Like, it's just stuff you don't want to listen to. And over
you
here,
skip,
basically, it's just them continuing to talk
yes,
in their own way, still putting bits in,
bits,
during the spot. So there's no reason for you to skip through it or cut away from it because sometimes it goes into like a thing that you miss because they just
yes,
go off on some tangent or they go off on some
yes,
whatever and like
yes,
and you end up missing a spot that most
yeah.
people on would say, well, I don't want to listen to ads, like I'll just skip through it or whatever.
No, no, there's no, yeah, exactly. Like they embed the ads in a way that, yeah, no, I was gonna say the same thing to where like they found a genius way to where they will do a callback on a spot,
Yeah.
right, of a supporter,
Yeah.
a sponsor. They'll do a callback to them, and if you missed it, if you skip through it, then you're screwed
Yeah, you
because
don't
it's part of the,
remember. Yeah.
yeah, like Blake Jones and the Beehive, right? Like
Yeah.
the different little spots like that that you're like, oh, what was that from? Oh, it was actually part of a spot.
Yeah.
That's it. And they know that Qualis Roofing. I
Yeah.
mean, my God, they're making money hand over fist, right? Because there's a ton of roofers, but if you're part of the Dumb Zone family,
Mm.
like you're like, oh, well, might as well get a free T-shirt at
Yeah,
least.
and the thing is like, and it's true. They've talked about this before, but this is something that like I, just had heard of and something that I believe in from a long time ago. Like they say, like it's better to have even we've talked about this before. Like you can have, I mean, 50, 60, 70,000 listeners that listen to the ticket that just kind of, I mean, because I really don't know how many people listen to the ticket. Because if you listen
Mm-mm.
to those transcripts, it doesn't seem like it's a whole lot.
Yeah,
When they talk about like maybe 10,000 people at one time listening to like at the,
right.
like to me that's like nothing.
Yeah,
But I don't know. Again, I don't know what kind of numbers, you know what I mean. Those things do. But let's say that they have, even if they had 100,000 people listening, right? And you're kind of zoning out of the commercials and all that. But like you have 5,000 like rabid fans of yours. Like
yeah,
you would rather take those 5,000 people that
yeah,
love your shit are gonna support, are
yeah,
gonna go buy into the stuff that you're pushing,
yeah,
or buy your merch, or go to the remotes or whatever, than have 100,000 people that just kind of listen to you in the background and don't really know a whole lot.
yeah,
They're not, they're not actual like P1 fans. You don't know all the
yeah,
bits, you don't know all the
yeah,
drops, you don't know all the things. Like those people are, it's a smaller group of people. And it's the same thing. Like all the people that follow them, like these people aren't paying the $7 to not listen to them.
right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So it's like, it's almost like they have more people listening to them, more people supporting them. Because like I said, if they put like us, like we order the stuff that they push to try it out and
yeah,
also help them out.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know the last time that I did that for something on the ticket, like, you know,
Never. Yeah. And it's also that story of like, hey man, it's not the little man, but it's also that,
yeah,
right? Where it's like, hey, we're supporting local, we're
yeah,
supporting these dudes, right? Like that are just trying to make it,
yeah,
just like us. We're all just trying to hang out there and just do what we can. But
Yeah.
yes, I've never supported another podcast or another thing more than I have with the Dumb Zone.
Yeah.
Flat.
Yeah.
Whether it was here, anything else I could get my hands on, I'm like, yeah, fuck it, why not?
And it's not,
Right?
and it's
Let's
not, and it's not because I hate the ticket or for anything else. It's just that I really like these guys. I really like what they do. I really like and it just I don't know, like it's something that almost comes naturally. Like you just do it.
Yep. Yeah, let's jump in and support them, right? But also, I love how they still support the ticket.
Yeah.
They support now. They've always said that there's a difference between the ticket and that magic that they created together,
Yeah.
right? And their friends and the personalities on stage and
Yeah.
on air, and then the company.
Yeah.
So they know how to differentiate that, and I like that because again, like I told you, like they often like Jake will be like, hey man, I was on the way in, I was listening to Gordo talk about this or that.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's no and they know
Because,
that
because there isn't.
there's not. That's it.
Yeah.
And they won the verdict for that.
Because
And
and they understand that it isn't like they don't like the people that are listening to the ticket now and aren't listening to the Dumb Zone by now, like that's not their people.
yeah,
They're not trying to steal those people to come listen to, like, you know what I mean? Like all the people that are fans are already here. And I'm sure there's some people that are still barely finding out that they're because not everybody knows about podcasts and why you listen to podcasts, and believe it or not, you know what I'm saying? Some people don't know,
yeah.
and there's people that are coming over, I'm guessing, often, like that figure out, like there was somebody talking about the other day, like, hey, I thought y'all just disappeared until somebody told me. I'm like, no, they're on this thing over here. You can get, you know what I mean? Like, that's just,
Yeah. No, that's true. Can you hear me?
Yeah, did you disappear?
No, I did a little bit.
Mhm.
I'm down on battery.
No, but yeah, and like I said, and speaking of, like, we'll do this on another bit.
Come on.
We'll talk about it again. But I was gonna ask, but like I said, we'll table this one for another session. But there was a thing I remember when they were talking about the transcripts and stuff of like them talking about, like, why can't we do a thing? Like there's already somebody on there that is doing it and monetizing it and like doing all this, which they never said a name, but everybody assumes that they're talking about Gordo.
Yeah.
And he's the only one that I've always seemed like maybe is the only one that's sort of maybe an issue between like the Dumb Zone and him. Like like I think everybody else is fine, but I think there's something maybe there between it, because there has been little kind of mini jabs when they kind of mentioned Gordo on the Dumb Zone, like little kind of like not hard jabs or anything, but just kind of little pokes of like there's something there. You know what I mean? Like there's something, I don't know. Like there's something there that again, if it was brought up, if they brought it up during the trial and stuff, and like I said, every time that, like I said, there's times where they just say, "Hey, I was listening to Gordon," but there's other times when they talk about other things where they give like this little kind of like there's something there that like they don't want to expand and say anything, but it's like if y'all know, kind of like a little,
Yeah, no, and you're right, because like, so in the transcript, like they mentioned other personalities and they were talking about,
because I don't know about anybody else that has like podcasts that they monetize that would matter. Like there's the weekend people do it, but I mean those people don't matter. Like nobody. I mean, as far as competition and like monetizing and making a shit ton of money off of it or anything, like it's nothing that they would bring up. It had to have been one of the main hosts.
Oh yeah, and it was definitely Gordo, because like at the end of the day, like we all know that Gordo is the backbone, right? Like he's the X factor, like he's the guy.
Oh yeah, and they even mentioned it on an episode when they talk about the ticket, when the ratings are kind of weird and everybody started to leave and this and that, and it's like, well, how did they fix it? It's like by just putting Gordo on every goddamn show, which is what they do. He's on every show during the week. He's got a spot every other day. He's got a spot on every other show.
Somewhere.
He comes on every other show, and I think they started doing the same thing with Jeff. Like he goes on Um,
He goes on the sweet
he's still
spot.
on the sweet spot, right? Because it's in the afternoon.
Yeah, Corby crosses over down to McLaren and
Yeah.
Donovan.
With the
Bird's
what?
nest.
Yeah, the birdhouse and like they do
Birdhouse.
a lot of like crossover bits.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But Gordo's on
and
every other show. He's got a segment on every other show at some
yeah,
point during the week.
yes,
And
and
like I
Gordo.
said, that was one of the little things they gave. Is like, well, the way they figured out how to fix ratings or help all the shows, just fucking put Gordo on every fucking show.
Yeah, and Gordo is the X factor, man.
Yeah.
On this
And
whole.
he knows the power that he has. Like, there's no way
Yes,
that he couldn't start his own show, his own podcast, and people wouldn't, you know.
absolutely, absolutely, man. Like, yeah,
And he's
I
got all
think
kinds of connections and everything.
dude. Well, it's funny because like he back in the day, like he God, this was like maybe 15, 20 years ago, maybe. But
Yeah.
when he was writing for what was it called? The Dallas Rag.
The
It was
Observer.
like the Observer or Go Dallas Go
Oh, yeah,
or something.
the insert.
Yes,
It
the
was
insert.
the
He got
guide
it.
or Dallas Live or
Yeah,
Guide. I think it was called the
yes,
Guide, something like that.
the guy,
That
and
little
he would do
insert
it.
they used to put in
Right?
the newspaper.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. And then he started doing that, and then he had remember when he had his own TV show on
Yeah.
Channel 8. Okay, so I went to a live taping, and he tried to do his bit there,
Yeah.
right? But he was already like, to, the point is, like, he was already trying to make those kind of moves
Yeah.
that Dan and Jake, right? And he knew already back then, right?
Yeah.
So now with more, I think he understands like what his position is now,
Yeah.
and dude, he's their golden goose.
I mean,
Like that.
he gets like 1,000 people on his Twitch streams.
Yes.
Like if he
Yes.
wanted to do something like big where he was gonna promote the shit out of it, like he could
Yeah.
get a ton more people.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not behind a paywall. It's not anything weird.
No.
Like he could just have his own podcast. Just sit there for an hour and do bits, or just because he likes to talk about serious shit. Like I listen to, because when he's on the Twitch stream, like he doesn't do a whole lot of bits. He's
No.
usually serious about talking about whatever it is that
He's-
he's talking about and everybody's talking about. But like he could easily do a daily show for just an hour and just
Yes.
upload it to YouTube and to Twitch and to
Yes.
everywhere else, and like he'd be fine.
Yeah. He's himself on there. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, not to sound like fatalistic, but like I do believe that like if you give Gordo enough time, I think he's gonna do something similar,
Yeah.
if not under the puppet umbrella.
Yeah.
I think it's a matter of time.
Yeah, I don't
You know
think
what I
he'll
mean?
ever be under that, but like I said, that's
Maybe.
that's the future.
That's a future, and
That's the
he's
future.
realized for a long time,
Yeah.
right? And I think I wouldn't put it out of the question. Like mark me on it, count me on.
Mark it.
This is probably maybe the first of our MBR, right? Like
Mark it, man.
there was one time that Beto said that Gordo was going to be under no puppet. Mark that. Mark that down. We'll review later.
No, yeah, because it's, I mean, it's the future. Like that's just where we've talked about it. Like content creation, like that's the thing. Content creation on your own time. Like people don't want to sit down at a certain time and watch something. Like, like I don't know when the last time, other than sports, then I sat down to watch something because it was on at a certain time or you were gonna miss it. Like,
no, never.
I mean, I canceled my DirecTV because I don't watch TV. Like I had it just for sports. That's the only thing that you have to like, hey, it starts at this time, you sit and watch it, but nothing else, not TV, not really radio anymore. You open up Spotify or your whatever, wherever you listen to, and you start it and stop it when you want. You start it in the morning, or you start it when you're taking a shower or taking a dump or in the car, and stop it whenever you want. Continue it, listen to it at work. Like there's no dang, I missed it. It's oh shit, I missed it. Like I don't know what happened. You know what I mean? Like no, you listen to it whenever you want. And if they, like I said, if they were smart, if the ticket was smart, they would give them also their own show. Or I've always wondered why they never, like all this time, they never did like a Howard Stern style thing where
Yeah.
like their video, they're in the studio. There's no need to like build the studio, just where they are, but just
Yeah.
also film it. And then at the end of the day,
Yeah.
put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Like, you remember we used to watch Howard Stern on
Oh,
or the
yeah.
E at
Yeah.
nights and stuff. Like, they used to
Yeah.
put the because we couldn't listen to it during the day because
Yeah.
it was on, well, even when he was on the Eagle. But I mean, it was during hours that we couldn't listen to the show. But at night,
Yeah.
you'd watch the highlights, condensed version. But it was on E every night. They had the episode
Yeah.
of the Howard Stern show, and you could watch it. And it was just a studio. It wasn't any kind of. They didn't do anything special. It was just a studio. And I've always wondered why they don't just do that and
Yeah.
then just put it on YouTube so you can watch it that night or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just don't
Yeah.
understand why something that's so easy, that they don't just
Yeah.
do it.
Well, I think they got. I think that. I mean, not the ticket, but like Cumulus in general. I
Yeah.
think they got. And Susquehanna before that,
Mhm.
right? Mike Reiner. The whole bit and how it got started. I think that they were so successful that they were like, we can keep doing this,
Yeah.
and that's how you get behind.
That's how you become
Is-
Blockbuster and Kodak
Yeah,
and
That's
all
right.
these things, and that
Right.
you need to, like I said, everybody does it now. The smallest of even like simple stuff like we're doing right now. Like
Yeah.
like the Dumb Zone, like they do video and audio, and they give you the
Yeah.
audio, and then if you go to YouTube, you can watch the video. Sometimes
Yeah.
people want to watch the. Sometimes I like to watch the video.
Yeah.
Like I'd like to see the bits in action. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And so I've
Yeah,
never
yeah.
understood why they don't just do something like that. It would be so easy.
Yep.
So easy, and get a ton more viewers, a ton more people that can watch it that maybe can't watch it during the day. I mean, can't
Right.
listen to the radio station during the day. A lot of people have jobs where they can't have their earbud in or their
Yeah.
radio on. They don't work at in a tech like Milton where they can just have the radio on all day and listen to a ticket. Like, you can't. And
Yeah.
like I said, they don't put everything on the podcast app either. They just
Yeah.
put certain pieces. But if they just had the show, like the whole music, the whole 3 hours
Yeah.
on YouTube,
Yeah.
and I could just
Yeah.
put it on and
Yeah.
just watch it, like it seems very easy. But I don't know.
It
What
does.
people they end up getting left behind. I mean, because everybody like the Dan Patrick Show, like Rich Eisen, like all these shows, they're radio shows,
Yeah.
but they're also doing video at the same time, and then
Yeah.
they upload the video in segments or the whole thing. You can watch it on
Right.
YouTube.
Right. No, it's crazy, man. It's but yeah, that's how you get left behind for
Yeah.
sure, man. But man, I was gonna tell you, battery's about to die.
Mhm.
I love you real hard. Let's keep this going. I